Welcome to the discussion. My guest today is Chris Townsend, the Area Vice President for Federal Sales at UiPath. Chris, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Jason. Thank you for having me. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. I know it's been a while, and now that your new role at UiPath, we got a lot to talk about. Let me set a little context for our discussion. In fiscal 2021 budget requests currently making its way through Congress, the Trump administration said there were about 30 initiatives using robotic process automation and other emerging technologies, and another 20 focused on digitizing agency processes. To see just how far RPA has come over the past year, just take a look at previous year's budget request, where the administration was almost just really introducing the concept of using software to take over the mundane, the repetitive tasks across all agencies. Today, there's hundreds of RPA implementations ranging from NASA to the General Services Administration to the IRS to the Patent and Trademark Office. In fact, GSA estimates that RPA could free up nearly $1 billion worth of productive time across the government. There's also now an RPA community of practice, an RPA playbook, internal controls guide, and a federal use case inventory. The community of practice and the CIO Council released all of these documents over the last 6 months or so. Now, despite the growth and potential of RPA, agencies still can't just jump into it using the new technology. There's process, technology, data, training considerations that every organization must consider. To understand how all these fit together and how agencies can continue on this path towards successfully using RPA, let me bring back my guest, Chris Townsend, the Area Vice President for Federal Sales at UiPath. Chris, I just gave a kind of a high-level view of this unprecedented growth of RPA in the market, but really, what's really driving it? Why is this one of those technologies that really caught on?
Yeah, Jason, so great question. I've never seen anything like it in my career. I've been in federal for almost 20 years now, and I spent 10 years at Cisco. I've worked in cybersecurity and all obviously extremely relevant technologies and high growth technologies for a number of reasons. But I have never seen anything like the value proposition that robotic process automation has, especially in the federal space. We're seeing this not only in federal, but across all of our enterprise accounts globally as well. The company is really just 3 years old, and I think our latest ARR number is about 470 million. So just unprecedented growth, one of the fastest growing enterprise software companies in history. The reason for that is just the tremendous efficiencies that we can bring. If you look at the productivity of a worker going back to the Industrial Revolution and then through the IT age, we've seen this great up and to the right increase in productivity. But while that increase continues, it's increasing at a diminishing rate, and that's because we've got all this great IT infrastructure that's providing information that we're tasking our employees to wade through to collect, aggregate, analyze, and then take action on, and we can automate a lot of that. And it's just one of those inflection points where automation is going to be able to, like you said at your outset, automate a lot of that mundane, repetitive work that people are doing that require no or very little cognitive involvement to allow people to focus on what's really important. And one of the other reasons why it's so catching on so quickly in government is if you look at the total number of government employees we've had in the federal space, it's been stagnant since the 80s. We really haven't added any federal employees to total ranks of the number of employees we have in Fed since for 40 years. But the population's grown, the complexity of government's grown, the complexity of the programs we're administering has grown. So a technology like this is really allowing our federal employees to do a lot more with less. And that's just going to continue to increase. So just to summarize, tremendous value proposition, tremendous return on investment, and really helping our federal employees do a lot more with less and really ramping up that productivity curve that's begun to flatten over the last decade.
We've heard that phrase many times over the last, 15, 20 years, do more with less. And I think RPA is one of those things that is actually happening. Chris, do you get a sense it's because it's a combination of technology, meaning, hey, the software has grown, has matured, it's the cloud, and it's also the realization that someone's job is not all about what they control, meaning the data and the people and the process they control, and more about what they can get done. Is there this combination of things coming together, the perfect storm, if you will?
Yeah, you're spot on again, Jason. So you look at where we are in terms of digital modernization and moving from a lot of our legacy systems to modernized systems, to cloud, to eliminating a lot of our technical debt with on-prem infrastructure. But there's a lot of human involvement that takes place in migrating data from these legacy systems into the new systems. We have a lot of federal employees that spend all day taking data from one system and loading it into another system because there's no ability to aggregate or get those two systems to interface with one another. RPA fills that gap where we can take data from a legacy platform and help migrate it to the new platform and do that in an automated way to free up that employee so they can focus on servicing the constituents of the agency, supporting the agency mission, doing work that requires more thought rather than just taking data from one system to the other. We can do that with automation and really accelerate this move to digital modernization. And, we started out a lot and we've been in Fed now for about, 2 years, 18 months. When we started out and doing a lot of back office automation. So finance, HR, procurement, some IT services. And quickly our customers realized that, hey, this is real, it's intuitive, it's easy to use, it's quick to build an automation, and it's quick to get a return on investment, a lot of efficiencies. The employees that are using it love it because nobody likes to do that repetitive, mundane work. Now what's really exciting about the technology is the ability to make a mission impact. And there are a number of agencies where we're automating mission functions, we're tying it in with AI, we're tying it in with machine learning. And that's really where it's getting exciting. We can solve some really big government problems. First off, the acceleration of the digital modernization effort with this technology.
I want to go down that path a little bit more on the mission side. Give me a sense of where you're seeing this falls into the mission, because that's what I've heard very similarly about. Hey, it's good for financial management, or it's good for acquisition. Really, did you check the systems for award management, the sam.gov database? Yes, the person's in. I can do that automatically. It takes seconds instead of minutes. Same thing with certain financial transactions. Moving data from an Excel spreadsheet to a financial system can be done in seconds instead of hours. But what are you seeing the impact on the mission side?
Well, you think about what many of our agencies are tasked with doing. There's just a lot of document processing, claims analysis. There's just a lot of paperwork that we have to do. So I'll give you a great example. Department of Veterans Affairs. We've had a production pilot that's been going there for about a year, and it's been very successful. The VA instituted the Mission Act about 2 years ago, and the Mission Act allowed veterans to go outside of the VA network to receive care in the local community if they were a certain distance away from a VA medical center, or they needed a specialty care like a chiropractor that the VA didn't provide. The way that works is they go out and they get a referral from their medical center. They go out to the community to get care, and then they bring a record back with them, whether that's a paper record that's handwritten or a digitized record that's in an email. They bring that back with them that then needs to be entered into the VA electronic health record system. The program has been so successful and so popular in the VA that it really inundated all these medical centers with these inbound records that needed to be loaded back into Vista. Again, really no cognitive work that needs to happen there. You just need to take a person, they're looking at a piece of paper or an email, they're taking the relevant data from that, they're loading it back into the VA electronic health record system. There was upwards of 10 people per VA medical center at 160 medical centers across the country that had to be repurposed just to process this inbound paperwork. And there was so much of it, they weren't able to keep up with it. So the backlog slowed the ability of the veterans to get referrals to get their community care. So it was slowing down the ability to provide that care and service to the veteran that the program was promising. So we've been working closely with the VA and in automating a lot of that ingestion and processing of all that paperwork. And by doing that, we could take these 10 folks per medical center and get it back to their day jobs, because a lot of them were repurposed. They were focused on important work and servicing the veterans and had to be repurposed to processing all this paperwork and keeping up with this. We were able to automate that, accelerate the process, work through the backlog, better allow the VA to deliver care and service to the veteran, and the return on investment of that, of those 1,600 people across the VA that had to process all this information, the return on investment is in the tens of millions of dollars in just a year's time. So that was one example of where we're supporting the mission. But we have example after example, whether it's SSA or CMS or DHS, where we're doing this. We've got some really cool stuff we're doing with the Department of Homeland Security, where we were able to identify, partnering with CBP, 1,100 fraudulent visa applications and processing in using automation to be able to pull data from these websites and analyze it and bring it back into the DHS system.
You also opened the door earlier as part of the conversation about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and how does this fit in with this broader RPA initiative?
Yeah, so AI and ML have tremendous promise across federal and across all of our IT systems, and how we can apply this technology to bring a lot of efficiencies. But RPA, coupling AI and ML with an RPA application, really starts to make it easy and consumable, right? Everyone's trying to figure out, hey, how do we use AI and ML to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse, or to do natural language processing to read a paper document. That's, great example. So we have AI and ML algorithms that are tied in with our platform through document understanding or third-party natural language recognition tools or chatbots to be able to take information from a constituent of one of the agencies, whether it's written or spoken, and allow the bot to go take action to improve the service delivery to the customer or process paperwork or all the other examples that we just talked about. So that's just an easy example of where we can use AI and ML, and then you start to take it a step further and where we can apply it to look for known patterns for fraud, waste, and abuse to begin to protect against fraud, whether it's mail fraud or Medicare fraud or fraudulent tax returns. But the ability to start to apply AI and ML image recognition and tie that in with AI with RPA is we're just starting to scratch the surface, but it's really exciting.
And you get to say RPA, AI, and ML, and acronym us to death here all together. So that's exciting too. One of the other things I just want to relate to this is a lot of people think of automation and using RPA as one piece, and then they look at AI ML as a totally separate piece. And I don't think a lot of agencies talk about this as those two coming together. Is that, again, part of the maturation that we're seeing, that, maybe at first it was just how to automate data moving from point A to point B, but as agencies started to move that data, they go, well, what if we applied these advanced technologies, and wow, think of the return we could get then. Is that part of the process we've seen over the last year or two?
Yeah, absolutely. So you think about how an artificial intelligence machine learning model works. It's all about the data and making sure that you have the data that's clean and normalized so that when you feed it into the AI or ML model, you get the output that you're looking for. RPA can reach into the data sets, it can correct any errors, it can normalize the data and process the data before it's ingested by the AI and ML model. So, whether you're using it for claims adjudication in the VA, or whether you're using it for processing patent applications at PTO, being able to reach into that data, normalize the data, correct errors in the data before it feeds into the AI ML model is critically important. Then once it comes out of that AI ML model with whatever analysis that's happened there, whatever, we can then process and take action on it on the other side with RPA. And recently we've built in a capability we call AI Fabric that allows you to natively plug in a third-party AI or ML model into our RPA workflow. So the way RPA works is you create a workflow, something that a human would do in various steps. And one of the steps may be to feed that data into an AI or ML model, whether it's image recognition, document processing, or some type of homegrown AI or ML model. And we have a lot of partners in that space, whether it's Data Robot or NVIDIA or using the native Google or Microsoft AI capabilities. You can plug those into our workflow natively now through our AI Fabric integration.
All right, the easier it can be, the more I think agencies will be excited to use it. Chris, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we can continue our conversation about the use of robotics process automation. You're listening to the discussion Innovation in Government, sponsored by Carahsoft on Federal News Network.